You are now tuned into the truth frequency.
We are TFR. TFR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
The Rundown, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Check out therundownlive.com. Mike P. Kristan H. The Rundown, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Check out therundownlive.com.
What up, guys? We are live here. It is Monday, July 6th, live here on the Rundown Live, rundownlive.com. Mike Pachesny, Kristan Harris, and we have arrived after our slight vacation, Kristan. It was a fun break for me.
Yeah, we missed you guys, that's for sure. I have to say I spent some good time, some time with the family, and I got to ask you, at what age do you start getting upset when people ask you a question? You know, you get the family together and somebody was like, what road did you come in on? 45, and then you get the why would you come in on 45 when 43 is faster? It's like their whole day is ruined because you ask the question.
Buy those hot dogs.
I'm like, it reminds me a lot of Mike. Mike's angry all the time when I ask questions.
Oh, man, it was so nice to have a break. If you guys want to get in the conversation today, 866-37-TRUTH. And, we don't usually take breaks like that. I mean, a full 2 weeks off is like, that was like, I don't know, it was like a vacation even though I didn't go anywhere.
Well, I did some interesting research. I went to Atslin Park, an ancient historical location here near Lake Mills, which is an unsolved mystery, and I did some cool things. I know I still kept up on the news, and I actually wrote more articles, I think, in the last week and a half than I have in the month prior. So, we were still involved, still busy. Just that it was nice to take some time away from the show, because it seems almost redundant, because the news, it was just the same thing over and over. It's about flags and getting boobs and things like that,
Yes, it seems all too surreal, all the things that we talk about almost every day. In a way, I miss it, I miss getting on the radio when we take those breaks like that. But then as my stress level slowly fades, I'm like, yes, I remember why I took a break, because my stress level just slowly lowers down.
Well, that's just it. We feel refreshed. And I have to say thank you to all the listeners who contacted us asking us, what's going on? Why haven't you done a show? It really means a lot to us. I had a death in the family, and obviously we needed the break. The break was actually planned, and it just so happened that everything worked out the way it did, Mike. And, it's very interesting to see how everything is really rolling throughout the world and locally. And this huge race war, it seems the media is really pushing.
Isn't it just sick? It's just ridiculous on both sides, no matter where you stand on the racial divide. I mean, it's ridiculous looking at it from like a libertarian anarchist perspective where you respect everyone's rights. It's kind of ridiculous, isn't it?
Well, it is, and what you're going to get is you got these people trying to ban a flag, and it's going to make, the people who are semi-mentally ill be like, what? That's my flag. I want to get angry, and I want to, get upset and argue and yell, and it really does nothing for unity. All it does is really get your attention away from things that really matter out there. I mean, I don't think that most people are inherently racist. I think it's the media. A lot of people, through their education, have brought up to believe that skin color matters, but to be honest, we're all just people flying on a planet through space. That's what it all really comes down to.
Yeah, when you really look at it like that, when you realize that we're on a floating orb, allegedly, going through this non-existent zone around this fireball, you start to wonder, do we really even know what the hell's going on anymore? I don't know if we do.
Fireball. Dun, 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 dun. No, that's tequila.
Isn't Fireball a terrible alcohol, too?
It is. It's awful. Actually, as a bartender, I can tell you that Fireball tastes like those cinnamon candies, those big jawbreakers that taste like super hot. I don't even know why anyone likes that stuff, but people do.
It's trendy.
feed scorpion peppers and ghost peppers just to prove that they got cojones, you know.
Yeah, it's good old cojones. Well, before we get into the spiel that we usually do, we should probably talk about the site really quick, man.
Yeah, guys, if you haven't had a chance to yet, check out therundownlive.com. There we have a ton of information up that we put up daily, news articles from Mike and I and the activists from around the globe. Share them with your friends. Go to your Facebook and your Twitter. Find The Rundown Live. Share the articles. Let people know to tune in to The Rundown Live. We air Monday through Friday, and we're also available on the internet, therundownlive.com/live. It brings you to a cool chat room. You can chat with Mike and I during the show, and even after the show we hang out sometimes, and all other informed individuals who are actually in the chat right now. So check out The Rundown Live. Support us, comment, share, do all the cool things that you do and that you're learning to do to help spread the message of liberty and freedom. If you're interested in supporting what Mike and I do here, there's a couple different ways you can do it. Check out Private Internet Access. It's a software that Mike and I use daily, and it really helps us to surf the internet anonymously. When you make a purchase there, it's $39.95, covers 5 computers for a full year. You get to conversate, download, do cool things like avoid Reddit bans, video game bans for those nerds out there that might have gotten offensive and banned from World of Warcraft or Call of Duty. This helps you avoid those things. And the journalist in me uses it to avoid being trolled on the internet on great forums that might ban me because they don't like my information or our information. So check it out, $39.95, 5 computers, support The Rundown Live. And if you're not interested in that software, you can donate directly to us through PayPal. Find that on the website. We can't survive without your donations. It's you guys that make this happen. Also, if you'd like to listen to us live, download the TuneIn Radio app to your cell phone. The TuneIn Radio app allows you to get The Rundown Live and all the other amazing broadcasters that are broadcasted locally in Denver, 90.7 FM Truth Frequency Radio. Follow us on there. You'll get Popeye, you'll get Joe Joseph, Phoenix Rising, Brooks Agnew, a bunch of other great talk radio show hosts and brothers on the network. I can't express how awesome TFR is. Check out truthfrequencyradio.com if you guys get a chance to support us there as well, and support the sponsors on the station. These guys do a great job, and they're our flagship radio station. So check them out. Also, guys, the Rundown Live app, we put it out there for free. It's available on iTunes, the Android App Store, Amazon.com, and the Windows Platform Store, Stitcher, and we're on Spreaker. Follow us on all these different platforms. When you download the app, it allows you to get all our past episodes, usually by the end of the night, and even limited edition stuff that Mike and I put out. It's pretty neat. You can email us straight from the app. So if you got show tips or you record it right on your cell phone, just get the app, open it up, and send us an email. You can access our Facebook and Twitter. In fact, it's the easiest way to get a hold of us. So if you got a cell phone, tablet, grab it right now. Download the Rundown Live app. It's a great item. We put it out there. And did I mention, guys, it's free. Tell your friends, if you're sitting and talking to them about the Rundown Live, be like, hey, I can download this to your cell phone. It doesn't cost you anything except for your data. So check it out. I want to say thank you to our syndication, Denver 90.7, TFR, and then we got FPRN Radio. Also find us on YouTube as well. We have our own YouTube channel. It's pretty cool. You can get all the videos on there. And we're just about available every way, shape, and or form. So check us out. Today, guys, we're going to have open lines. We haven't heard from you guys in forever. And I'll be honest, I kind of miss some of our callers. I don't want to sound romantic or anything, but 1-866-37-TRUTH. Give us a call right away. If you guys want to get into this conversation, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's happened in the last 2 weeks we can talk about. 1-866-37-TRUTH. So, Mike, what do you have on your mind? What's grinding you right now?
There's obviously a lot that always grinds me. I look on social media, and every day it seems like it's something new that is just like, wow, it always amazes me. And, banning things never works, Tristan. When you ban things, it doesn't work. We learned with prohibition. We learned that with drugs. We learned that with guns. I mean, for instance, look at Chicago. Look at all the people that were just basically murdered by guns over the 4th. And, that's one of the strictest gun law locations in the United States. So, I mean, banning things never works. Now, in the context of banning, when you talk about things like flags and history and all this stuff that's going on now where there's memorials being defaced and all kinds of stuff, it's really kind of sad. And what it reminds me of ISIS. It reminds me of how these thugs kind of go out and destroy history. It's almost like the same thing is happening now in the United States. Individuals are taking their own liberty to destroy, the history of the country, the nation, what things were built upon and what happened in the country. Just because you don't agree with something doesn't mean you have the right to destroy it. I mean, you have the right to, petition your grievances and let people know that, you know what, I don't agree with this. But when did destroying property become like the in thing in America with, all the riots that have been occurring throughout the last few months, and now, destroying history is now the cool thing. It just seems like there's an agenda going on that has to do with all this rhetoric that we're talking about. And, one flag is okay, but the other isn't. It just doesn't make sense. Banning things never works, Kristan.
Well, no. And what does destroying these objects really do for history? Does the history get erased because you destroy a historical item and or object? It really doesn't do anything. It's like burning flags, whether you're, most of us are not pro-racism or anything like that. And I still don't understand how burning, let's say, the rebel flag does anything for state-sponsored racism, such as the police state. You have the whole jail system, which is very racist, and the judiciary system, which is very racist. You can see that more Caucasians are arrested and more minorities are put in jail for similar crimes. And that's the judiciary system. That's state-sponsored racism. And burning flags really does nothing for stopping racism. In fact, all it really does, Mike, in my opinion, it instigates racism.
Now, I respect the right to do that. I respect the right for people to go out and do that. But the problem is, you're right, it instigates a lot of trouble, and I don't know if people, you don't see me burning flags. Although I respect those people's free speech in doing that, you don't see Mike and Kristan putting out videos of flag burning, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah, we're not getting a big shotgun or a semi-automatic and just shooting holes in the American flag, because it's, we don't get anything done. Yeah, we could get many hits on the YouTube for doing stuff like that.
Burn all kinds of flags, rainbows, Confederates, stars.
We could piss everyone off,
Right. And is that really accomplishing anything? I don't know if it is. And really, it's not. Going back to the burning of the flags things, what happened in New York the other day is just crazy. There really is no free speech in America. And what happens, like you said, it instigates violence. And these individuals who don't respect the very rights that they preach about, they love America. Remember, if you don't love it, you can leave it. You can get out of America if you don't respect it. Well, those very individuals don't respect the Constitution. They don't respect the First Amendment. They don't respect the individuals that are unhappy and, doing it, even though they don't agree with the flag burning, they still have to respect the idea of free speech. And when people become violent, that just leads to more violence. Almost every case you can think of where people become violent, it's just going to be answered with more violence. And I see there's a slippery slope where individuals are going to lash out, and it's going to cause problems here in the near future, I think.
Well, and I agree. I think this whole flag burning thing is a little insane because people are getting upset over a flag, Mike. They're getting, you're seeing people come out of the woodwork that maybe normally wouldn't have these feelings. And let's be honest, the main perpetrator here of really causing racial division is the media. It's the government.
Right.
The government and the media are really pushing this race war for some reason.
I did that. Right. It's what it boils down to is a psychological operation. I mean, what else can we say? We have to dig back to our Roots of Truth broadcast with Harry Link, and everything's a psyop. But it really is. I mean, when you look at this stuff and the way that they're manipulating you with colors on a cloth, If you're manipulated by that, then you're just as bad as everybody else. If you're being manipulated by a cloth with colors, I mean, really, look at the problems our nation is facing. When you're being manipulated by a flag, you're not talking about the financial system. You're not talking about the TPP. You're not talking about all the wars and the constant warfare that's going on around the world, like Afghanistan is being called a good war. We've been in these countries for over 10 years now. Don't worry about that. We'll worry about flags. You know what I mean?
Well, the flag is there to remind us that we once were free, Mike. It's not that we're free anymore.
Were we, though? Were we?
I don't know. I didn't live then, Mike, but I can tell you we were a lot more free, let's say, 100 years ago than we are today, especially when it comes to, like, taxes and taxation, no Federal Reserve. But you're going to always have crooked people. You're going to have a crooked banking system, unless you do what Iceland did, and that's hire a bunch of bounty hunters and get all your dirty politicians and bankers arrested. And then, you might get railed and not allowed to get medicine or food, like Greece, who's suffering right now, where they're only allowing them to take $22 out of the ATM a day, euros. It's just.
I do want to talk about that too. Not right this second, because I do kind of want to focus on the psychological aspect.
There is a big social engineering project, Mike, and I think the social engineering project is keep everyone bitching, apologize, about Caitlyn Jenner and or the rebel flag. Maybe they should just put Caitlyn Jenner on a rebel flag. Would that make everyone happy, or would everyone be offended at that point? I'm
sure everyone would be offended no matter what, because being offended is bullshit, Kristan. That's the thing. If we're going to be a politically correct nation, it'll never work. A free speech nation can't have political correctness. It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. Free speech was intended to be free speech, not to be, free speech but this, and free speech but that, and free speech
zone.
Unless you're in the certain corded off area, that's completely insane. And the more and more we censor ourselves, the more and more our freedoms are going away. And why would that be, Kristan? Who is behind the self-censorship that's going on in this crunch, not only in America, but in the entire world, really? Everybody is being self-censored right now. And tying it to Greece, I think that is a very controlled operation to see what exactly would happen when these type of systems fail. And I mean, Greece went through this a few years ago. Now it's getting pushed back to the forefront. Now we're going to see what exactly takes place when the people say, you know what, we're gonna vote on paper and say we don't want this, and we'll see what happens when the banks kind of step back.
The EU is failing, so nobody wants part of it over there. And I don't blame them. The problem is they're not going to get any help then. And all your money is gone, and your pensions are gone. And it's almost like blackmail, where the banksters are going to try to get them into quantitative easing, like infinite, or whatever the solution is. It's just a bad deal all around. And it really shows, in my opinion, like you mentioned something very important. I do think it's testing grounds in a social engineering side to really understand what's going to happen here in America. They really want to see how people react, how they act without food or money, without food stamps, without being able to get money out of their bank, and what's going to happen when the bank just wants to steal money from them and just, in order for us to get this country back, we're going to need to borrow money from everyone.
I don't think people can really wrap their heads around something like that. I don't think Americans, for the most part, can think about, having money, supposed money in your bank, but going to the ATM and it just not giving it to you. And you using your little debit check card at the grocery store or at the gas station, and it's just declined. Yeah, you got a paycheck, but guess what? They ain't giving it to you.
Unless they're paying you in gold and silver, it ain't useful.
Well, and not only that, what are you going to do? Hand the gold to the gas clerk? You know what I mean? That's why I've always had an argument against that kind of thing, because it's like, what is that really going to do for you in a time of desperation? Yeah, can you use it to trade with individuals and stuff? It'll come in handy in the long run. I'll give it that. But, in a downfall of a nation, it's not going to do a lot of good for you right away. And I think this is just another psychological operation where they're seeing how people will react. How will the internet react? How will things trend? I
I don't really know what's going to happen. I think if people want to continue living in this fantasy world where the Federal Reserve and the IMF and all these banking cartels just print infinite money, then you know what? Eventually it'll just pick itself back up, and we'll enjoy the stock market again, and people will just kind of go back to work and do their things. But if people are really putting their foot down, it's going to be interesting. I just don't know if they are. I think that after a few days of problems, people will beg for some kind of answer.
A lot of people are really mentioning Iceland in this scenario. They're saying that Greece is looking or starting to appear as though they're going to take the route of Iceland and getting out of this fake debt that they have. Iceland, when it came out that 92% of the debt they had wasn't even theirs. It was dirty politicians who bought and signed on to this debt and really put them in this scenario. It's a way to collapse a country. And I think that if Greece accepts the debt, gets out of all these agreements that they're in right now, that they could come out on top. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think people are going to be like, I don't want to lose my pension, Mike.
Right.
Well,
how does that affect like their GDP and trading with other countries and all that? I mean, that really plays a role. You know, are countries going to be willing to do business with them when they just kind of defaulted on everything? Is their word worth anything? You know, if they're playing this monopoly-like game, how can they trust you?
It's by design, though, Mike. That's quantitative easing. It's all fake. They just print out money and it doesn't work. And every time it doesn't work, they're like, well, here's a get out of jail free card. We're going to try it again. Quantitative easing 2 and 3 and 4 and infinite, because they can't admit that it doesn't work. This Keynesian economics is garbage. Only the free market society will work. And unfortunately, we have a banana republic and a very controlled capitalistic market run by, evil people who are very greedy, people who are not really interested in, sharing the wealth, and the better of mankind, but more so, consolidating everything. They want, one media department. They want one government. They want one world, a currency. It's everything is about. It's a lot
easier to control people that way.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier when people don't have the freedom of having those funds to do things. It's easier when people are poor. That's why you have a slave class, because they're easy to manipulate then. If they're rising up and gaining monetary funds and doing things for themselves and being self-sufficient because they have the money to do it, that's interesting. That's going to cause problems. And, there's ways around it. You could go out and live in the woods if you want, and you don't need money, and you could build a cabin and burn firewood and fish and stuff. But even with that, you have to worry about things like Agenda 21 and the forest rangers coming after you eventually, because you don't have a permit for that, Kristan. It's just going to be major problems.
Well, maybe we should just sell the land to China because we own debt, and we talked about that, 3 years ago? Debt for resources for debt, where they were talking about giving land to China in order to pay back the money we owe them, and you're going to see things like that. But other ideas of losing our own land and our freeways and everything. America is just pretty much done, Mike.
Well, the idea of what America is done. And see, this new world order is really taking shape now, isn't it? When you talk about freedom, that has no place in the new world order, because the new world order is about slavery. It's about individuals like you and me under the control of the elite. That's all it's always been about. And that's taking shape right in front of us right now, where individuals used to have power to the people. That used to be a real thing. That's slowly closing. That window is closing. The idea that we can rebel and fight back tyrannical government, that's going away. I mean, with the technology and Skynet and all these drones and everything that's taking place, that idea of getting rid of this system and some type of revolt is going away. It's just not going to be able to happen, because the technocracy and the New World Order has been planning this for hundreds of years, and it's starting to take fruition. It's happening right now. This is literally happening. People are so focused on things that don't matter. Pop culture. They don't even really know what the hell's going on anymore. I mean, I was watching Mark Dice videos over the 4th where people didn't know how many stars were on the flag, Kristan. How dumb can you be? You live in America and you don't know how many states there are? What is wrong with you? Like, literally, what is wrong with you? I mean, I can understand if some people don't know, why we celebrate the 4th of July. Okay, yeah, funny, haha, these people are stupid. But if you don't know how many stars are on the flag, that's ridiculous to me. That's ridiculous.
I want to mention that these aren't like minorities in aspect. Many minorities actually know this stuff better than people who've lived here all their life. I think that it's this whole dumbing down of the education system. They don't even know how to count down cash drawers. I had a young girl that was working with me, and she just graduated, and she's into college here, and she was 23, and she's like, I'm bad at math. I can't count money. And I'm like, yeah, I learned that in like 2nd or 3rd grade. I was thinking this.
There's a reason for all this, though.
Yeah.
And like Bill just said in the chat, it's not all of America, but we're talking about a large percentage. All you have to do is go to Walmart and you can see it. And I'm not trying to hate, but you know what?
America. Walmart.
Yeah, America. If you don't like it, you can get out. You can get out if you don't like it. This is my daddy's flag. And if you don't like it, you can get out. I mean, what? Like, what do you even, oh my God.
What's wrong with people? People are just nuts nowadays. Everyone is like so defenseful and territorial. Let's be honest. It doesn't matter
what. If you don't like it, you can get out, Christian.
Unless you're ISIS, right? And you can come on in, ISIS. Come on in. Open borders. God. ISIS, come on over. Open borders,
It's crazy.
Everything's backwards. Everything is backwards. You're seeing them, make heroes out of liars and put truth tellers in jail. This whole society of America is just backwards right now. And you're seeing people, what did they say? Chris Christie came out and he said, if there is a terrorist attack on America, blame it on Rand Paul. Don't blame it on, the heads of FBI or the NSA, which never works. Can't stop anything from happening, so it seems. Blame it on Rand Paul, who really wants to prevent, the TSA and all these things. But guys, we have open lines, 1-866-37-TRUTH. Join us the second half. Give us a call and break. We want to hear from you. What's important? 1-866-37-TRUTH.
And if you don't like it, you can get out.
Get angry at flags. I said flags.
Hey everyone, this is Phoenix of Phoenix Rising Radio, inviting you to listen in every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evening at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific Time right here on Truth Frequency Radio Network. Join us as we cover a wide range of topics and current events, ranging from the esoteric, economic, earth changes, and geopolitical. We also have interesting and exciting guests. Now is the time to lift your mind higher. Now is the time to rise above. How can you do this? It's easy. Just tune in to Phoenix Rising Radio right here on TFR.
The head of the Pentagon's new agency in charge of recovering and identifying remains of U.S. war dead says the government should partner more with private groups.
Michael Linnington, a retired three-star Army general and a veteran of combat in Iraq and Afghanistan, is heading up the new agency called the Defense POW MIA Accounting Agency. Linnington wants to enlist the help of nonprofit groups which have resources and interest in finding remains of the tens of thousands of Americans missing in action from World War II as well as the Korean and Vietnam Wars. He says these partnerships will be an important part of his efforts to steer the agency out of years of internal conflict and dysfunction. Jeremy House, SRN News, Washington.
A U.S. appeals court has upheld a federal plan limiting pollution in the Chesapeake Bay despite objections from farmers who accused the Environmental Protection Agency of abusing its power. The ruling upholds restrictions on farm and construction runoff and wastewater. This is SRN News. Congressman Joe Heck will run for the Nevada Senate seat being vacated by Minority Leader Harry Reid.
A biggie because it gives Republicans a candidate with name recognition running for a seat that could well determine whether the GOP retains control of the Senate. Heck's likely to face Reid's handpicked successor, former Nevada Attorney General Catherine Cortez Masto. Heck is a three-term Republican congressman representing a Democrat-leaning district.
SRN's Wally Hines reporting. Starbucks says it's hiking prices again starting Tuesday, with the increases ranging from 5 to 20 cents for most affected drinks. A small and large brewed coffee will each go up by 10 cents in most parts of the country. The Seattle-based company raised prices nationally last year as well. Some other coffee sellers are cutting prices, though. The J.M. Smucker company recently said it would sell coffee drinks for less because of declines in futures prices. More details at srnnews.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington.
Your DIY health with Jim Ram. Thursdays on Truth Frequency Radio.
The Rundown, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Check out therundownlive.com. Mike P. Kriston H. The Rundown, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Check out therundownlive.com.
The Rundown.
866-37 The Truth is the number if you guys want to get in this conversation tonight. And we have returned to Truth Frequency Radio after a little vacation. And, you know, it's good to be back on the air and kind of making fun of all these things that have occurred over the last few weeks. But then again, it really makes you think about, you know, the mental health of the world and America. But, you know, it seems that America is almost below standard at this point. It seems that other nations are much more educated on what's going on in the world, much more educated on the financial aspects of the manipulation of the banks and the wars going on. Because guess what? The wars are a lot closer to them. You know, when you're separated by the oceans and you have cable TV and Hollywood, those things are far away. You know, the drones bombing people and the soldiers in the middle of the desert, that seems like a movie to you. It doesn't even seem real. But these individuals that are surrounded by these things, that live near these locations and have to see the effects of these things, you know, they have, I think, a better grasp on the reality of what's taking place in the world right now. And it boils down to a lot of manipulation, and the elite really have taken control. And when I say the elite, it doesn't mean rich people. It means the super elite that control every aspect of our lives through the media, the banks, the corporations, and the food we eat. I mean, it's literally everything that you see, touch, and smell that the elite control. Now, that doesn't mean a guy that runs a shoe store and owns a business and became successful is elite because he drives a BMW. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a communist. I'm not a socialist. I don't think everybody has to be equal. But, you know, there obviously is individuals that have the most amount of wealth in the world that are getting together and saying, you know what, this planet's getting smaller and smaller every day. We have to find a way to get this under our control so there's no way that we can ever lose it. And, you know, that's what's happening right now.
You know what the natural cure is for this illness, Mike? It's called the truth. And I think when people get hit with the truth, a lot of that normalcy bias really dives into their cognitive dissonance. They really start seeing the conflict there, that they're really buying into a lot of these logical fallacies. And, you know, I think the truth is the cure to all these things, to really finding out what's going on and exposing these people. And it's funny, I think it's a natural cure. But speaking of natural cures, Mike, did you see that these people involved in natural health are mysteriously dying? Like the guy who tied autism to the MMR vaccine was found floating in the lake with a gunshot to his chest. You know, yes. But you know, MMR vaccine.
Well, that was suicide.
Yeah. clearly.
Yes. You cut your own head off, it's suicide. Yeah,
yes,
you know.
These things happen.
Yeah, you know, sometimes you cut your own head off.
You miss your target and your sword swings around and gets your own head. It happens.
I mean,
swing too hard.
happens all the time.
I'm out. People just swinging swords too hard and their head comes off.
No, I mean, one of them, the woman, I can't remember her name, that was ruled a murder. But it's interesting. It's interesting that there's a war on these type of individuals, like you said, who want the truth, whether it's journalists, doctors, whoever, activists, it doesn't matter. There is a war against people that want the truth, because the fantasy is a lot safer for the elite. The fantasy is what they want. As long as you're wrapped in that fantasy, you know, there is no truth, because the truth is what they create. And they think that they know best. Remember, we say that all the time. They know best, right, Kristan?
Well, yeah, and if they don't know best, or it's not a fantasy, maybe they'll just beam some images into the sky and you'll get some kind of crazy fantasy. Everyone out there wants to believe in some sort of dream and hype out what they can potentially be, but nobody wants to really put their feet to the ground and make it happen. And you're going to see a lot of people wake up to a rude awakening soon when you see things like we've been talking about the Greece collapse. The Greece collapse is just a fraction of what's going to happen here in America once things start to fall apart. And I really fear for everyone I love and I care about, I really would like there to be a solution to things like being almost $100 trillion in debt with everything that we've committed to and things of that nature. When you look at a nation as small as Greece comparatively and see them fall apart, it makes you wonder how long will it be till America is next. And
how will this affect the global economy and other nations? I mean, will this start some kind of chain reaction? We really don't know. I mean, we really don't.
Well, then you see them really going after these natural health people. We saw recently with the legalization of marijuana, the huge health benefits that cannabis has as far as like CBD oil, and it's always been rumored for many years that marijuana cures cancer. Now studies are coming out that even people who smoke marijuana are less likely to get lung cancer.
Yeah, but our government's getting on board with marijuana.
Slowly
although
but surely,
it's taken a while, but that's how government works. Anybody that works for the government knows exactly what I'm talking about. Government takes forever, and it's a slow process, and that's the way it works.
And those NFL players know what we're talking about.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Jamal Anderson, the former running back, says that 60% of NFL players smoke marijuana. And I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. I think that if you can handle marijuana and you think it helps you, medicinally or otherwise, then you have every right to, use a substance that, is perfectly natural and grows from the ground and the earth. And you know what? That's your freedom there. That's your freedom to choose. Now, if it was killing people all over and, causing problems in people's lives, you know, maybe you're making a bad decision, but I still would respect your freedom to use it. But it's not doing that. It's proving the opposite. It's proving that it can be used as good and medicinally. So, you know, the alternative to what we're talking about is, like Kristan said, the truth. And that's why I think there really is a war on the truth. No matter what aspect of the truth it is, there's a war on that. There's a war on the family. There's a war on health. There's a war on food. There's a war on individuality. There's a war on sovereignty. There's a war
property.
Right. There's a war on every aspect of freedom. I mean, that's the bottom line. No matter how you slice it, freedom is going away, and we're becoming more and more drone-like, more and more automaton, more and more robotic. And, you know, it's interesting. I don't even know if you can call it evolution, because I don't know if it is. It's not
de-evolution.
Yeah, it's not human. It's not human-like. There's a reason these things are taking place, and I, in my personal opinion, believe it's because it's the top-down effect of these individuals that have super control over what's going on, over everything you see, read, touch, and smell. You know, these individuals are manipulating the world to get it to be the way they need it to be, so they can maintain power, their families maintain power. All you have to do is look back to history.
Follow the money. It's that simple. You can follow the money.
I mean, like Alex Jones, you know, people hate on Jones, but Jones knows his history. And if you look back on history, that's what happens. Families always had dynasties, and they would pass down the crown to their cousins and their brothers and their sons. And why would you pass on the rulership to some other guy? You know, that's not a good idea. The only way the king would get overthrown is if somebody came in with an army and physically dethroned them, right?
Or the people revolted.
Right, and that would be literally people coming into the castle and throwing them out. And I mean, that's what we're looking at here, and that's kind of what I was talking about.
Neo-feudalism.
That revolt isn't really possible anymore in this technocracy. The more and more this Skynet is developed and all these technology aspects of life, as long as these things are developed further and the human freedom is taken away, there is going to be no revolt. People are going to be literally bots. They're going to be bots, and they're going to do what they're told. And listen, you don't even have jobs anymore. Yeah, some people have jobs, but they're going away. Robots build everything these days. If you're not working in the service industry, you're either in healthcare or you're a lawyer. You know, there's not a lot of jobs left anymore. And there's a reason for these things. It's part of the plan. It's part of, you know, what's going on. And if you want to call it the New World Order or whatever, this is literally what we're being faced with right now. And I'm not trying to scare people. It is what it is. And maybe that's why people choose to live in the fantasy, because it's easier. Yeah, you're surrounded in it, and it's easier. It's just easier to believe the fantasy, Kristan.
Well, it's easier to live poor and suppressed than free, right, Mike?
Yeah, I guess so. Poor and suppressed. It's a wonderful life, right? You can't even buy food. You can't really make ends meet. You can barely pay your rent. You have to beg government for assistance. I mean, yeah, that's a real great life.
You've got a PS4 and a computer and a cell phone, either that or a government
keep it on. I mean, literally, you have to rely on some kind of Facebook plane beam you internet for free in the future. I mean, that's crazy. That's insane. And people are going to say, well, the cable companies are charging too more. Well, guess what? If we didn't pay them, they would have to charge less, wouldn't they?
Definitely. They definitely would.
If we didn't all have Time Warner and Comcast and use their services, then guess what? They wouldn't be able to charge thousands and thousands of dollars for access to this.
You heard me say it on the show that if I ever hit it big, I'm going to start my own electric company here in Wisconsin, because we only have We Electric, and if you don't pay that bill, well, and you're not on time, you can't plan on having any electricity.
Well, yeah, you know,
I don't live off the grid, Mike. Don't live off the grid.
Yeah, I don't know how well you're going to do trying to start an energy company here with this monopoly. They'll take you out, Kristan. They'll take you out
with the fishes.
I want to go to the phone lines. It looks like we have a caller. I'm not sure who it is, but I think we have him on the line.
You know what time it is? This is hey. What's up, fellas?
Been a while. How's it going, man? I missed you. How you been?
I know, I kind of missed you guys too. Welcome back.
Did you enjoy your vacation?
Yeah, it was pretty good. 4th of July was pretty good. Hey, I just wanted to note here. I mean, I mentioned in the chat, and I think it's kind of relevant here. In just the amount of time you guys were taking a break, in just that short amount of time, maybe a week or two, I mean, look at how many things have happened. I mean, it's crazy. Like the TPA passed, completely circumventing the Constitution. Virtually no news network is screaming that the TPA is a circumvention of the Constitution on treaties regarding the Senate. The Constitution doesn't say one body can abdicate its role to another branch of government. Nowhere in the Constitution does it give that kind of authority, yet you're seeing, you know, over the years, plenty of times where the House, the Senate, are just handing over their powers to the executive. And what else? Hey, mass murder by a crazy coot, and we have an attack on the First Amendment, not the Second Amendment, in regards to symbols. If you haven't noticed that one, they didn't go after the guns after this mass murder. They went after your speech with this mass murder. Now, I don't agree with the symbolism of the flag. It's not something that I believe in or adhere to, but people have a right to have whatever symbolism they wish in their lives, even if we disagree with it, because it's speech we don't like that is the most important to protect, not the speech we do like. So that's another point. They used this to go after the First Amendment people, not the Second, and that's a very important thing to look at. Usually they go right after the guns. They go after the Second Amendment, but they keep hitting a brick wall every time they try that. So what do now? They go right after your ability to, express yourself or have a point of view in life or whatever it is. They want to attack that. So they go after a symbol instead of after the guns. And that is more dangerous. That is more dangerous to do than to go after the Second Amendment, in my opinion, because that First Amendment can topple governments. I mean, more so than the Second Amendment.
It sets the stage for everything. That's why it's literally the First Amendment. That's why it's
the most
there.
important one.
And that's a good point, hey, because we've been focusing on that free speech attack, but I didn't really clarify it as well as you did. Yes, that's a wonderful point, that instead of going after the Second Amendment, now it's the First Amendment, because it's much easier to go after the First Amendment now, because if you can get rid of that, they all will fall. That's the end. If you get rid of the First Amendment and take away people's freedom of speech, they've already done it to journalists and on the internet. You can't say certain things. I mean, so if they can really just censor people fully, I mean, that's it. Then you say goodbye to your gun rights, say goodbye to property rights, say goodbye to all of it, because they're all going to fall.
No, wait, I'm not done. Another thing happened. What else? Medical tyranny in California, which again, people don't realize. They're attacking your First Amendment right again, not in terms of speech so much as in terms of your religion. For instance, you no longer have a religious exemption to vaccines, even though there are vaccines that have been created which have aborted fetal tissue in the creation of that vaccine, which is the religious exemption that they have been giving people all these years. That's what it's all about. If you don't believe in abortion, then these people have pretty much ripped your religious freedoms away from you in California in terms of your ability to deny a vaccine based on religious grounds. I think
that's
that
cannibalism.
Is outrageous. Yeah, it's absolutely outrageous that people cannot judge for themselves what they want to put into their own bodies. I mean, isn't it funny? You guys mentioned, marijuana before. The government can tell you what you cannot put into your body, but in the same breath, the government is telling you what you must put into your body. This is tyranny on another level. I mean, they're going both ways. They're trying to control your entire system. Whatever goes into your body, they have to okay it. They have to, and they tell you what you must be putting into your body. It's pretty crazy. That is a basic freedom, and to deny children an education if they don't vaccinate is no different than making people second-class citizens if they're religious. I mean, if you're a religious person and you don't want to vaccinate because you don't believe in abortion, they basically have relegated you as a Christian to a second-class citizenship. Your kids don't get to go to school. You don't get to have certain jobs in the private sector. They can lock you out of certain aspects of society, and that is everything the Constitution was created to prevent from happening. And that is exactly what they've done. They don't come right out and say that they're attacking religion directly, but that is exactly what they're doing. And with the gay marriage thing, I'm a libertarian. I could care less about gay marriage, but that is also a thing where they are poking the bear. They're poking at Christians again with that, trying to change society or force Christians. If you're a business owner and you're a Christian, you don't want to bake a cake for somebody. Well, they're going to come after you with the full weight of the law and do pretty much outrageous punishments to you. Like there was a couple that was recently in the media. They owned a bakery business, and they're getting fined $135,000. And we're talking about a small business that probably doesn't make them even $15-20 a year, and they're being fined into oblivion by the government for what they chose as a religious stand. So this is tyranny again. It continues. Even in just your brief absence, just a week or two, and we have all these things happening. Now we have Greece sticking their pinky finger in the eye of the New World Order, voting no on their bailout plan, and also that's gonna send shockwaves around the world. And this is actually probably a positive thing. If you're anti-globalism, this is a positive thing. But I don't believe for one second that these globalists are going to be defeated at this particular stage. They have thought this through. There will be a whatever you want to call it, the Empire Strikes Back episode, globalism style, where the New World Order will find a resurgence. This is
they'll beg for it.
Well, they're all moving out of America too, so at least they're worried. I mean, they're going to beg for it.
They want the NWO. Hey. They literally will. They will say, "We made a mistake. We need you. We need you to save us. You were right. We needed you all along." ISIS is
going to get you, even though we created them. They're going to want American troops on the street.
You notice which countries are cheering Greece on the most. They're the countries that have been destroyed by the evil banks in the past decades, such as South American countries like Argentina and others. They're cheering the Greek decision to fight back against the banks because they've been through this. They've been through what Greece went through, where they get these loans that look good in the short term, but they know they can't possibly pay these loans back. These are loans to enslaved nations, to just paying the interest on the debt, and that's you're paying a good portion of your GDP over to these banks for the rest of your existence. I mean, you can't afford to give your people health care or anything else because you're paying the interest on this massive debt. This is exactly what they've done. This is nation slavery.
Isn't it just extortion?
You get to keep your pension at least.
It's
then,
literally
right?
extortion. I mean, this is what the mob used to do to corner stores on the street. Hey, you're on my block. You can't operate your store unless you give me a little cut. And if you don't give me a cut, I'm gonna break your windows. I'm gonna steal your products. I mean, that's literally what we're looking at a grand scale.
Correct. Yes. I agree with you. This is mafia-style tactics put on a global scale. No question about it. That's the way that these loans have been structured. It's loan sharking, no doubt. They know that these people can't pay it back, and what they've done this to other third world countries. The media just hasn't talked about it on the level of talking about Greece. Greece is kind of bringing this to a lot of people's attention, but this has been done to multiple second and third world countries over the decades, where they literally are in economic slavery, paying interest on loans back to these world banks, and their people live in utter poverty, and they cannot grow out of the poverty ever because this suffocating debt that they have to make payments on the interest of it holds their country back from becoming first world. They've done this to Greece, and in some respects you can see the beginnings of this happening to the United States. And just as an example, we're paying interest on our debt for our national debt. This is the reason why we cannot raise interest rates, because if we raised interest rates, we wouldn't be able to afford the interest on the debt. And this is the United States we're talking about. This isn't even Greece. We're not that far away from where Greece is if we keep going down this road of borrowing money from nations abroad instead of fixing our own house at home and making sure that we can take care of ourselves. So it's not just about greed. This is about control.
Well, and meanwhile,
people don't loan you money.
I was just going to say, and meanwhile, you have the BRICS nations coming together and saying, you know what, we want out of this altogether. We're going to do our own thing. And, we haven't really realized the full potential of how that's going to affect the world as well.
Correct. That's the BRICS, the whole discussion about the BRICS agreements, or the BRICS nations. That has kind of quietly gone into the background. Not many people have been discussing what they have been actively doing since they came to their agreements. Perhaps that's an area of research that we should look into. But, when you notice in the Western world, we're mostly democracies, but democracy is really not what it could be called anymore because it's so manipulated. That's why when nations want to decide on their own course of government, like Greece, they went to the left. I don't agree with their choice, but I understand that they're a sovereign country and they have a right to decide what form of government they want that runs their nation. I don't have that right to decide that because I don't live there. I'm not part of their people. So if they want to move to the left of center towards a bigger, more controlling or large, nanny state, that's up to them. But that's the whole point of national sovereignty, is having that choice. And this is what globalism is going to wipe out. It's going to wipe out your ability to choose your own form of government and your own form of representation as a people.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I mean, that's what we're seeing. That choice has gone away. Hey, we're out of time, man. Any last points before we let you go, man? It was good to hear from you.
No, I'm just, I just look at it like this. Just in the last 3 weeks, all of this tremendous change that I just outlined here, this is a microcosm of what has been breakneck speed change in our nation and world in the last 3 to 4 years. This is just a small example. If you were to track 3 weeks at a time, going back 3 to 4 years, and you really were to do your research, you would see just how rapidly this New World Order or globalism has been rolling out in our country. They are determined to cross that goal line at the last minute and get globalism put into place in more places. So this defeat in Greece, this thing is not over. You have not seen anything yet. There will be an Empire Strikes Back attempt by these guys. You can bet on it.
I appreciate the call. Hey, we're just out of time, man. Give us a call anytime. Great points, man.
All right, there, guys.
Take it easy. It was great to hear from Hey, man. He just brought up a lot of points that we kind of didn't get to, and he clarified some things, which is good, man, because we really do have a lot of problems. And you know what? It's sometimes like when we do this kind of thing, alternative media, we get so focused on the day-to-day grind that once you take a step back, you don't realize how many things are changing and how rapidly this kind of is happening. That's amazing. But anyway, we'll be back tomorrow and we can talk about it. RundownLive.com. Check out Truth Frequency Radio. Phoenix Rising's coming up next. Stay tuned, guys. We're out of here.
Yeah, who's they? Don't forget, guys, there is no CFR. Check out the RundownLive.com, guys. Get a hold of us. Facebook, Twitter. Find us. The Rundown Live.
If you don't like it, you can get out.
America.
Truth Frequency Radio is your #1 source for news and information without the hate, hype, and fear. We are proud to bring you cutting-edge programs like The Liam Chef Show, The Rundown Live with Mike and Kristen, Real Politics with Professor James Tracy, Your DIY Health with Jim Ram, Revolutionary Radio with Rob Skibba, Truth Stream Media with Aaron and Melissa Dykes, The Covert Report with Susan Lindauer, and dozens more. Did you know you can listen from any computer, mobile device, or from any telephone by dialing 832-225-5308 or call into your favorite show toll-free at 866-37-TRUTH. Uncensored talk and news you won't hear in the mainstream media 24 hours a day. Truth Frequency Radio. Wherever you are, make it TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
With that,